All right, I know it's a little confusing here. Probably should have broken up a little bit. But Democrats, by and large, and given the timing of this in the middle of the big tax cut news, taking to the Senate floor, some to the House floor, to say, you know, the administration is even thinking of firing Bob Mueller, which apparently it is not. For the time being, it is not. Bad thing to do. What was weird about it, as I said, is that it occurred on the very same day that the administration was announcing this big victory on tax cuts. Now, it could be simply coincidental. Or it could be a deliberate effort here to minimize the publicity off of that. But it was weird, remains weird. So why is it still a storyline here when the administration, at least, tries to say they're not even considering it? So the Wall Street Journal editorial board member, Kim Strassel. Kim, do we know something, or am I missing something? And the administration has repeatedly denied this. Now, the president certainly could fire Director Mueller if he wanted to. But there's so far no indications that he's inclined to. But they keep resurfacing this. What's going on?
Yeah, I think you're incredibly kind to suggest it was simply weird. The president's team has repeatedly and emphatically for 5 months now said that it has no intention of firing the special counsel. So I think there's two things going on here. One is the timing. This is a way of deflecting from a big Republican victory. It's a common thing that happens in Washington. You try to spin the news in your direction. Also to spin news away from some of the information that's been coming out about the FBI and the Justice Department and its role in last year's election. But I think the other thing is, look, Mark Warner, Chuck Schumer, they would love nothing more than for President Trump to fire special counsel because it would give them a reason to then take action against President Trump.
And we should stress here, whether you like Mueller, whether you like the president, you don't like Mueller, you don't like the president, firing the guy isn't going to make the investigation disappear. There'd be another, special counsel brought in to either continue or follow up on whatever he was doing. So it's not as if all of this would just go away, right?
Well, right. And I would have thought, and I've said this before, that given all of the conflicts of interest that have since arisen and around Mr. Mueller's team, this agent struck, the text emails, the close association between many of the people in the Justice Department who are now on his team, I would have thought if I were Special Counsel Mueller and I wanted to protect the integrity of this probe, then I would actually maybe step down, resign, and allow somebody else to come in and take up the work where he had it. Because, look, a lot of Americans want the answers here, but they want the full answers to everything that happened, and they want to feel that they can get that without a conflict of interest like we've seen here.
This is proof that you've been working too hard, Kim. That's not going to happen. So let's step back here, and maybe you can read in between the signals, the tea leaves, whatever you want to call them, what's going on. We're told that much of the interviewing, if not all of it, is wrapped up. Now, that could be very wrong. I know there were several points in Ken Starr's investigation with Bill Clinton that the interviewing was just about wrapping up, and lo and behold, the Monica Lewinsky thing unfolded. So it went in a completely different direction. So that's still possible. But what kind of a sense are you getting about the timeline on this?
Well, I would argue that that's another reason you see Democrats saying this. They're trying to provoke President Trump into firing him because they're very worried that they're going to come out with nothing. In that they're just not going to, he's not going to, in the end, find any evidence of conspiracy or collusion or obstruction. So the best they could hope for, because, look, this is a cynical game in Washington. Democrats were unhappy about the election. They thought they might have another shot at getting the president out of the White House with this special counsel. But if it looks as though this is getting wrapped up, and it could be the case, then they end up without that political victory. So they'd love, again, for the president to fire him because that would give them new cause.
Do investigators respond to criticism of their investigation? I think Sarah Sanders had said, look, we think this whole Russian thing is a hoax, but we're not about to fire Mueller. How do you think that plays within the investigation unit, within Mueller's unit?
I don't think anyone should expect Bob Mueller to come out and hold daily press conferences and answer the accusations against him. That wouldn't help the integrity of his investigation
either.
He
doesn't say boop. He doesn't say anything at all. Yeah.
Nothing. No, and that's probably smart. One would hope that his investigators and he are aware of the allegations and criticisms, because, again, this goes to the credibility. Americans want answers. Where I do think he's made a mistake is that he's not gone out of his way to work cooperatively with any of the investigators in the House and the Senate who have an equal claim to investigating. He knew, for instance, about these text emails all the way back in August between these agents that are so problematic, and yet he did not go to Congress and inform them about this and explain why he'd taken the man off of his team. I think they were owed at least that, and it's made many of them question what he's up to.
He has said, or his office has said, I don't know who's telling the truth here, that they were not aware of those texts until well after the fact. You don't buy that?
Oh, no. Well, they were well aware of them all the way back in July when they demoted this guy. That's what I'm saying. They may not have found out about them until, we found out from the Inspector General
and
that
he was still part of this.
He
was still part of the investigation in a technical sense. So.
Correct. Okay. So they didn't find out about him until July, and then they demoted him. And I do believe that as soon as they were made aware of him, that he was kicked off the team. But they've known about those texts, Mr. Mueller, since July. And not only did they not go and tell Congress, they actively hid this information from congressional investigators. And that just doesn't speak well of their motives. It's really made a lot of people question their motives.
Yeah. All right. Kim Strassel, Wall Street Journal editorial board member. Good seeing you. Thank you for updating us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.